I'm interested to see if anybody happened to be here or happens to be here from the radio show I did on, I think, Wednesday with Keisha Ewers, I think is the, hopefully I got her last name correct. Anybody here from that show? Oh, you heard the show, okay. Okay, and, all right, okay. And the good news is you decided to come anyway. All right. So there you go. So there are some of you, let's see, who are yet to be on soul awareness discourses. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, that would be you. Anybody in that category? You're not yet on discourses? Okay, that's fine. And it's open. So in some ways, what I'm doing is introductory for those of you who are new, or even if you've been involved with what we're doing for many years, which sometimes actually is the case, because there's a part of what we do that engages deeply, powerfully. Even this young man over here, who, did you sneak in, or did you just like, your mom was distracting them and then they came in there? But you're welcome. But also, what we do engages from within, and because it's something like our breath, and in our breath as inspiration, as our living force. And so part of what we're doing is just engaging that more consciously. That's practically how I would look at what we're doing. And even when we do that, let me go to the other side of the continuum and say, as masterfully, as perfectly as possible, we're still practicing. There's something about this world that's, we're not done yet, like those of us who are here. And I suppose we could delve into the blessings in other worlds or something on that order. But I look practically that we're here. So if we could bless what's going on in this world and then make that personal to what each of us are experiencing in this world. And I like to, at some point, make it simple as much as I can. So blessings is greater good. And hopefully that's something you want. Because in some ways, if you say, I don't want greater good, then there's something like you're wired backwards. Which can happen, you know, that somehow our conditioning or how we were programmed would be we would avoid success or fear success, that kind of thing, that we would look at it like it's a danger to get more involved in greater good because there's all this responsibility that goes with it, or expectations. Sometimes that's what people are having issues with. But the kind of greater good I'm really talking about is actually factually greater good. It's in your favor. So what I'm really looking at is if there's some part of us that is afraid of that, or doubts that we can, or doubts that we're worthy, then we could change that up. You know, sometimes we need to I'm plugging into Star Wars. I guess I could plug into. So the first one I plugged into was Obi-Wan Kenobi, and then I said I got to get to Obi-Wan Kenobi so I can get to R2-D2. But that would be the idea that maybe the robot, if you're wondering what I'm talking about at this point, because we assume everybody knows about Star Wars, but young men, have you seen Star Wars yet? How many episodes? All of them. Wow. I don't even know if I can claim that. So you know who R2-D2 was, I would. Okay. All right, so that's the idea, that we could touch up the programming so it's better. And when we call in the light, we do that. That's simple. When we breathe, actually, we do that. If we don't breathe, do you understand, we would kind of mess up the mechanism if we're not getting enough oxygen. And so sometimes literally our life would be dramatically improved if we just got more oxygen. We got more H2O and not the additives that could be transported by H2O that wouldn't necessarily be in our best interests. But good oxygen, good water, and then let's add one more component, good experience. So we're here for good experience. You in favor of that? Yes. Okay, all right. And there is something about that when I ask maybe seemingly a hypothetical question. Do you know what hypothetical is yet? Well, don't worry about it. It's really not a very important way to go. I would rather you have direct questioning, like what is that, and then you have the experience. Okay? So, but basically, if we just open it up and I ask you a question and then you respond as you're voting and your vote counts. So if you say yes, something happens. And if you don't vote, something happens. So even, have you noticed, I've noticed in my independent survey, which some people know all about it at this point, but I've noticed that people are more reluctant to take a stand, more reluctant to take a commitment than 20 years ago or 30 years ago. It seems people want to stay uncommitted, like, well, what do you think of this? What do you think? Based on what you think, maybe I'll think. Instead of, we'll take a stand. And well, I don't know enough information. Maybe I've been listening to the latest debate, where a politician can say, I don't have enough information in order to respond to that issue. And it's like, well, maybe you should have enough information. If you want my vote, you better get on to what is it you're going to commit to. And then I think some people learn how to say nothing with a lot of words. So it's like, what did they just say after they spoke 100 words? It's like, it sounded like they were saying something. They were using words like committed and I'm going to fight for you and things like that, but then what happened? So part of what I'm saying is vote for your blessing. So you can forget about, maybe it was 200 words I just said, but vote for yourself, your vote counts, and that it's really being activated. I don't control the blessings. I'd like to control them, but I can activate them for myself, and they can be shared. So one of the blessings is sharing, so that if you become blessed, and I keep picking on Lynn over here for some reason, but she keeps looking at me, and I'm going, okay, Lynn, let's work this out. That if she's blessed, it's like it gets over the, what is that? Some cup, that's it. That's how I could see it. My cup's running over, and blessings can get into your house and bless the little critters that are there. Anybody have issues with they're like this big? Do you have rodents around here that are this big? Somebody goes, I have some of those. Four-legged, maybe slightly brown. Cute little button black nose. Okay. Yeah, beady eyes. They have the beady eyes. I don't like the beady eyes and the long, hairless tail. I don't like that. Well, they're trying to eke out an existence. So maybe if you bless them, that somehow something starts. That's like, okay, how would we work this out so it's a blessing, not a war? Or something on that, where I'm against you, and in order to work this out, somebody has to die. It's going to be you. We have a lot of that probably going on right at the moment. But in that case, we're here to be in the blessings, so I just look at it as a blessings field. I did write down some questions in preparation here. I was in an atrium today in our hotel, and there were these bamboo plants, and they went up about 20, 30 feet. It's pretty good. So I was admiring that, and then this experience came up as, you know, those are alive and they're growing. And how would I even know that? Because it's kind of imperceptible. Do you understand what I'm talking about? So often the way these changes work is at our level of sensitivity, we don't realize it's changing and shifting. And it's such that it's constant, like a constant in this world is change. So it's either going toward the better or it's going toward the worse or the less better. I like the less better than the worse. I mean, if it was up to me, we wouldn't have that in our vocabulary. We'd just say less good or less better, or even if it's not grammatically correct. We'd know what that is. That we would understand that everything has a good purpose. So in the introduction, our business in the movement of spiritual inner awareness we call soul transcendence, and kind of a, you know, what does that mean? And I'm still working on it. When people ask me, or I talk about it, or I drop things that... Have you ever tried to juggle papers? Well, juggle things. But when we get into the purpose of the soul transcendence, it's looking for the good. So even if I drop something, there's something good in that. Maybe I just got the best exercise of the day. That my trainer wants me to do bends or whatever they're called. Squats are fancy names sometimes, but it's like, why? So you can work your mechanism. So some part of me would know, you need to bend your knees more, and I'm going to find a way. If you won't do it, I'll do it for you. So I'm going to find ways to lead you where you need to go because you asked for greater blessing. So a little later, we're going to look at blessings in disguise. Have you ever heard of that phrase? Okay. And what if everything is a blessing in disguise? And then it's like blessings love to wear masks or dress up, or costumes, or something like this, like that. So it seems that the blessings are not a blessing that we would, in the first part, interpret that it's not a blessing, and the reality is eventually we will come to know everything's a blessing. And you could start right now. You can make that leap of faith if it's a leap. Maybe it's just a little, like, slight movement, and there I am. I just needed to move slightly, and I'm in that place that I claim everything as a blessing, even if it takes me 48 years to get there. Some of you have been through that process by now. Like things that, it seems like most of your life, that was not a blessing, and then, you know, I learned a thing or two through that, you know, that adversity, that thing I would never wish upon anybody, did me some good, did me a lot of good. So eventually we come around to it. So let me just do something. If you haven't discovered this by now, I'll introduce it to you. And then you still could say, I don't want to discover that. Thank you. That there's a blessing of learning every time. So we're always learning. And I like another way of looking at that called growing, that we're all growing up. So you're not the only one, young man. But are they already saying things to you like, oh, I remember you when you were this high, or no? Or how about this high? Wait a minute, you're about this high right now. Okay. But even when our vertical length seems to, anybody in this phase where your vertical length is now going down? See my hands up. Because I discovered this with my son. I'm going to diverge for a moment because I need a clearing here. So, would you that send the light, hold the light? My son Zane, who's 18 now, if you're wondering where he's on the scale. But he was at an Insight event a while back, and someone said, let's see who's taller. And I was like, okay, yeah. Because he had a goal in his life that he was going to be taller than me. So I gave him a bunch of guff about that. Like, you're not taller yet, you know. And then it was discovered, and I tried to argue, but I wasn't very convincing that I was taller. But it was obvious. So now he's about 6'2" or 3" or something like this. So he is that. But I've also discovered that, you know, I used to be clearly more than 6 feet, and it seems like now I don't know if I'm even 6 feet. So I still, and who knows what that is? You know, I don't know. You know, I don't have the study from the science that say, oh, you know, it's because of the lumbar something or other, discus, meniscus, or some such thing. But in any case, the inner part of us that we call the soul, the true self, is constantly growing. And in the growing is the better. So when we talk about growing, we're really talking about that you're actually getting better every day in every way. And you just go, I think I've heard that before. And it's like some people affirm that. I say, go ahead. Every day in every way, I'm getting better and better. And I think there's more after that. But you just go ahead and claim that, and that's another way of voting. I'm engaging my consciousness towards greater good. So since you came in here, and let's say even since I got up here on this stage, anybody experiencing greater blessing? Okay. And even you go, oh, when you brought that up, and I know I want to vote for it, even if I'm not conscious of it, I still want to claim it. Good. Go ahead. There's no error in claiming greater good. None. So go ahead and claim it. Even if there are other people saying, your life is a mess. Do you have any idea what kind of mess your life is? Has anybody told you how messy your life is? Okay. There are probably some critics around, or maybe they're affectionately known as instigators or probers or needlers, something like that. You know, that we get people that bring us to where we have the most potential for greater blessing. Do you see how I phrased that? Oh, you're helping me realize where I could have the most blessing by pointing out, okay, your version of that is I'm weak there, or I'm really out of balance there, or that's my stupidest part, or whatever it's called. But just to realize, okay, that's the area where I have great potential, even if your survey of what I need is not correct. You know, that I'm in the authority of my life. I didn't assign it to you or anybody outside of myself. I don't need to do that. But thank you for caring enough to share that with me. A few of you have heard that phrase before. You know, which is a whole nother way of embracing your judges or your judgments, even if they come from within. Anybody have a self-critical voice in there somewhere? Yeah. I was listening to it last night. It was rather loud last night. Like, hey, I need some rest here. It's like, no, I have a few more things I want to tell you. And where it comes from, I was actually admiring, you know, it's, what's the word, perspicacity? And what does that mean? I don't know either. So maybe it's related. Like, you don't even know what perspicacity is. I mean, what kind of vocabulary do you have? See, did you hear the voice? You know, there's 8-year-old kids on the spelling bee who know better than you do. And they do, actually. If you've watched one of those spelling bees. Okay, so greater blessing. Let me see just what else I had here on my piece of paper. Oh, I had, how does photosynthesis work? It's working. It was working with that bamboo plant. And I said, you know, it has something to do with light. Ah, okay, that's a good hint. The blessings have to do with the light. And growing has to do with the light. So plants do one kind of light. Souls and our higher nature do another kind of light. So we work with the light a lot, those of you who are new. And the light brings greater blessing. It's like oxygen for the soul. What else do I have? Oh, incubation. So if you don't know photosynthesis, maybe you know incubation. And that's what mother hens do. Am I right? But sometimes the father hens, no, you can't do that, can you? Like, what did you just say? Father hen? But more and more we're getting into this, you know. It's like, you want to cross over? We know how to rewire that too now. It's like, okay. Seahorses, yes, that's true. That they have, what is that called when they have both sexes? Hermaphrodites or something like that? Wow, I haven't used that term in a while. Okay. And then I wrote down frozen tundra and spring thaw. So what stage are you in your life? So, you know, if you were in the northern climes this time of year, there's all kinds of life. But 6 months ago, what was it like? Something on the order of a frozen tundra. And maybe not much life, and you go further north and it's like, where's the light? Haven't seen it in weeks. That's okay, it's coming. So if you're in the worst part of your life and you happen to show up here, welcome. We welcome you at your worst, because often, if you really understood, when you're at your worst, your higher nature, going to the highest nature, is at its best. It has its greatest opportunity with you. So just remember that the next time you feel like you're at your worst, or your darkest night, or it's coldest, however that relates. I'm in a great opportunity, perhaps the greatest opportunity ever in my existence for blessing. So these are ways you can shift it up by claiming it and programming yourself. Because we're powerful creators. We have the ability right now to change this up. So a lot of this is just talk on the launch pad, like 10 minus. Remember those countdowns? I think somebody still does them, which is hit ignition, ignite, lift off. That we're engaging these blessings, and they're here. But part of it is that we're never given anything we can't handle. So that's straight out of Movement of Spiritual Inner Awareness Central. You have a place like that? I just made that term up, right? I mean, in case you're saying Central, that sounds like, what was that one? The Man from U.N.C.L.E. There we go. Wasn't there a central place in that? Okay. Maybe it was Matthew Smart or Maxwell Smart. Okay, there we go. Are you willing to be blessed? Okay. That's my last question, actually. And then if you sort of go out of the greater, like you do something to contract or turn or blow it or make the great big mistake, are you willing to reset it, re-choose, ask for the blessing again, trust that somehow you're not a goner, it's not over, it's not too late, you're beyond hope, or anything like that. There's no such thing. And it's like, I'm speaking the voice of spirit. Well, can I do that? It's like, well, it's in my breath, it's in my consciousness, so I dare to speak the voice of spirit as it would speak to me and through me, and from you and with you. So then the voice of spirit in me addresses the voice and spirit in you, which then addresses back. So we're in some kind of communion here, that we can get on this frequency, this wavelength. Okay, that was kind of the introduction, warming up. We have a moment of peace prepared, and where do we play? Oh, there we go. So I think you guys don't have to turn. You're in the luxury position there. It'll be on your, more or less on your screen, hopefully. We're doing this right. But this is the screen, and then we're going to do a little preparation. We'll see the founder of the Movement of Spiritual Inner Awareness, John Roger, sharing a moment of peace, or something like that. Here we go.
If you don't prepare, then you get caught in the astral winds of karma, and you become subjected to all those things that flow in and around those levels. When we are born, we're allocated a certain number of breaths, which goes to about 100 years. Sleeping, you use less breath. Meditating, spiritual exercise, you use less of the breaths. Sex, you use about 400% more of the breaths. Gorging, eating foods and avarices of the world, it's about 200% more use of the breaths. So it's quite obvious that if you engage in those things that waste your energy, you shorten the time you have in which to prepare the kingdom in which you're going into, and to go there and become familiar. I tell people, longevity is a key in which we work, because the longer we're here, the better chance we got of breaking through and getting all that familiarized, as this world's negativity is familiar to us. You see, there's a story told about an ancient kingdom where the rulers were selected and they would rule for a period of time. It was 4 years. And then they were sent off to this island. And on that island were terrible animals and creatures. And they'd just be killed overnight because they'd be put out on this island. Then a new person was appointed king. So one of these who knew he was going to be appointed king watched that. What he did is he took all the architects and he took over soldiers and warriors and went to this island where he was going to be sent to later on, and had all the animals killed off, and had fresh water brought in there, and beautiful gardens and beautiful palaces with all the comforts that he could ever hope for, wish for, imagine, placed on this island. And it was finished. And it was finished the day they came up and said, "You, my Lord, are no longer king. This, my Lord, is the king." And the new king said, "You are now banished to that island." And he got on the boat with his retinue of people, and he went over into paradise. He was a wise king because while he was living here, he was preparing for what was coming. Spiritual exercises is the wise king who lives here and prepares for what is coming. Baruch Bashan. Take a deep breath, but receive the air into you. Don't take it into you, receive it into you. And then let it go out as not being receiving into you. Receive it into you again. You notice your body starting to relax? And then let it go as not being receiving into you. Because now you're just going to receive good into you. Then you let go of that is not good. Just let it go out. Just keep doing that. Don't take a breath in because that's force. Just receive it in. Because very frankly, something else is breathing you other than you, because you can't stop that. Even if you went unconscious, it would still breathe you. If you went to a coma, it would still breathe you because you don't know what it is. So breathing is having faith. And receiving it into you is faithing. Now that you receive in the breath, is the breath of God, the divine spirit. And if there were anything less than that, you couldn't exist. So let it spiral your conscious energies inside. And wherever there's a block, let it move the block aside. You got to receive it though. You can't force it. You can't do anything with it. You may not even know that it's happening. But if your intention is to have it happen, to receive in air and to release negative blocks, you may still have blocks there, but they're not negative. They may be useful to you as building platforms. You're already past your own ego statement and you're seeing into the spirit right now, just by breathing into it. The colors you see in your inner vision will be the color of oxygen that you're going to breathe in. Because that's telling you need that vibration rate. Feel the deep emotions now with that? Yep. Just keep doing it. This is called Sahaj Yoga, just the natural way of breathing in and breathing out. Do you know why you don't have to believe anything? Because it's the spirit doing it. And if you believe or you don't believe, it still does it. That's why it's closer to you than your hands and feet. All you people that are doing this with us, if you have an ache or pain someplace, breathe the oxygen right into that area with whatever colored light you saw. Just keep doing it, and it will naturally and normally select away when it's through with what it can do. Peace that you're feeling is the presence of the Holy Spirit, because it brings peace that you can't understand. And you got into the bottom part of it, but you're in it. Now it's just like how to maintain and fulfill that more. Anything else? Thank you.
Gave us the opportunity to hear the first moment of peace, which was unplanned with JR. So then just consider if you got something out of that first one where JR was talking in the three-piece suit kind of thing, then there's a demonstration. Then it has a sense of awkwardness, like, well, they're not getting it on. Often one of the keys to access a blessing is your relaxation. So if you can move yourself to relax, like breathe rather than, well, my inclination is to get tense or irritated or something like that. Just shift that, because you can actually still make the choices. Anybody consider yourself a athlete? Well, I'll just say it that way. I see. Even if I can't even run half as fast as I used to, I'm still an athlete, because somewhere in here I know what it is. But it's also like a performer. Then that really opens it up. And my experience with playing in the zone, performing in the zone, or over my head, like doing things I didn't have a personal awareness that I could even do, and I've had that experience, is that it's in a state of relaxation, a state of ease, where it's like I already know how to do that before I do it, even though, well, you're doing it for the first time. Well, I'm in an experience of I already know how to do it, I'm just going to do it. And it's strangely un-self-conscious when it happens. Like I'm not in self-conscious, I'm in the doing of it, the being of it. The ability took over. And that's how I often relate to how spiritual exercise works. So we were taking a moment with that, and Jared made a reference to it. Is that we're in an ability that we don't consciously know we have until we're in the experience. And so part of it is to relax. So we do a lot in preparation with spiritual exercise, or all of what we do really, that we can turn everything, every moment, into a spiritual exercise, that we're accessing, engaging ourselves spiritually, that we're playing in that frequency. We're playing in the blessing field, or the fields, I like to refer to it that way. That we're looking at the good, which is the secret of soul transcendence. Looking for the good, the divine in people and things. And I like to point out, notice it didn't say find the good, know the good, look for the good. Anybody here have a retriever dog? Okay, there we go. So which species do you have? A golden retriever? Okay, well, that's like a classic right there. We were with a Weimaraner. I still haven't learned how to pronounce that this morning in the lobby. But they're also retrievers, like bird dogs. You know, like you put a bird in their presence, it's like, aha, you just switched me on. You're like, this is my life purpose. And then depending on how they're trained, etc. But just to understand that we can engage the part of us that is to retrieve our godhood, retrieve the greater blessing. If you've been around a trained dog, you know, there's calls, like you go, get him, you know, and they're like, what did you just do? And they're like going all over the place. And then if you've been around it, it can really be wonderful. Now I'm thinking about the sheep herder dogs. And then the whistles and all this starts taking on a meaning. And so that whoever's training the dog would know certain calls and ways to work that out. So let's just consider that you're all dogs and we're training you. But we do have a nature that's trainable, that we often refer to as the basic self, or the unconscious level. As long as it's trainable, we might as well train it to go for the good, to look for the good. And lo and behold, why would it be a surprise that we find it? And then we bypass unnecessary experience. Anybody had unnecessary experience? See, I know that's a universal, so even if you don't put your hand up, I go, you've had unnecessary experience. Don't kid yourself. It's like you didn't need to have it. It was not necessary. And that can be to the good. But I'm also looking at it as, well, as long as you're choosing, keep wiring that in. Okay, so we're about to do an exercise, but I mentioned earlier I would talk about blessings in disguise. Anybody got an example that's pretty quick? Like you say the words, I'll repeat, or we can bring you a microphone, but a blessing in disguise, and you just want to share it. Like something that initially was not seemingly a blessing. So here, we'll bring you a microphone. We're ready. And as long as you got a microphone, you might as well start with your name.
Hi, John. I'm Lynn.
It's the famous Lynn, everybody.
All the way from New Jersey. I recently got laid off from my job, and I was so dumbstruck because I've been probably working since I was 8, you know, being a mother's helper, and I've never been laid off. And, you know, inside me, I'm cursing and judging my boss. And at some point within about 15 minutes, I called in the light, and everything shifted. And I thought, this is a blessing in disguise. That's what I heard. Mm-hmm. So then I had to keep reminding myself of that, because I felt bad for the kids. I work with inner city kids in Trenton, and I just felt bad that they weren't going to get that support. But then I kept thinking, okay, this is something that I've asked for. One day I went into the bathroom at work and I was sitting on the toilet. God, if it's my time to leave here, please, please. I've spent 10 years in Trenton. Please, if it's my time to move on. So
And here you are in Bellevue, Washington.
right.
Yeah.
So I just feel really, it was a blessing in disguise, and people have also said that to me. So it's good for me to listen and be aware. So, and as things have unfolded, I got a job within literally days after, ease and grace, and so it's
Okay.
it's having that faith and trusting. So
Clear example. Thank
yes,
you, Lynn.
you're welcome.
Yeah, I just want to give. That just represents our appreciation for your willingness to share, etc. Anybody else have a blessing in disguise right here?
It's a big one, and you've heard it before, but so just the net result is a situation in a family where a dehydration of a baby led to her ultimate really great health without going into the, but without going into a long story, but really what could have been a near-death thing led to extreme great health.
So there was a greater need besides water.
There, the yes, and the dehydration set up what Spirit had intended.
There's another great example. Thank you. Anybody ever had a house burned down? There we go. You want to talk to that one?
Hi, my name's Anne, and when I was a kid, a magpie flew. My cat caught a magpie that woke up the family, that woke up my mother, who had 5 kids that were sleeping and didn't want to go to school at any time, and that magpie woke up the family. So our house was burning down, and we managed to all get out and got to school, and our faces were soot black. And yeah, live to tell the tale. I'm really grateful. Thank you for that. Whew. And then my son, who's a musician, he named his band, unknowing of this story, I never told him that story, he named his band Magpie Collective. It's with me all the time.
A little signature from Spirit, maybe, huh? Yeah, so there, and that just popped into my head, then boom, then someone has the story to tell us. And then maybe magpies aren't your favorite bird, but then maybe now they are, or whatever that is. Anybody else got blessing in disguise? Okay, we'll go back here.
Hi, my name is Christine, and I'd say I am divorced, and I didn't see the blessing in that at first. And what that's done is cleared the way for me to focus on my loving heart, my relationship with God, and maybe even a better relationship with my ex-husband.
Okay. Which, strange as it might seem, is possible. That you could get along better than ever after a divorce, or whatever that is. And this is something, even if that seems preposterous to you, we're going to give you an opportunity to try it on for size here in a few moments. So let's do one more here with Lucy.
Thanks. My name's Lucy, and the blessing in disguise has been an ongoing challenge finding a place to live. I've experienced environmental allergies, environmental sensitivities, and the blessing, well, there's several blessings within it. One is really getting directed to find my portable paradise, my home in myself and with Spirit, regardless of outer circumstances. And I'm still working on that, so I place that in the light. And the other more recent blessing is I got a tent. I got a tent and a sleeping bag and a pad, and I took it down to the beach, and I had like the best 2 sleeps of my life being there. And also my basic self is really happy because I'm like, hey, I have a car, I have a tent, pretty much. You know, if it's not snowing really bad, I have a place to be.
There you go.
So thank you.
And at any time in the world, there's a place where it's not snowing. Just in case you didn't know that.
Thank you.
Okay. So that's what our migratory ancestors know about. It's like we go south at certain times of the year, we go north at certain times of the year, maybe east, west, etc. All right, so we're going to do an experience. There is a piece of paper in the room, and there's a set of questions for those of you online that we're going to refer to. So you might want to follow along, and I'm going to bring up the Movement of Spiritual Inner Awareness ambassador, in case you didn't know we have one. Lee Taylor Young, come on up here. All right. So welcome to the stage. And she also just happens to be my wife.
What a pleasure.
And today we're going to saw her in half before you on stage. And her wiggles, or her toes will keep wiggling while the dog goes on. Oh, wait, that's for another show later. For now, we're going to do the...
Oh, I have some news for you. Perspicacity.
Yeah?
It means keenness of mental perception or shrewdness. So there we have.
There's
Thank
a
you,
nice
Roger.
word. Nice word.
Yeah.
Love that word. Okay. So we're going to run through the set of questions. I think I'll just follow along with all of you. Now, look how daring I'm about to be.
He's asking the questions.
I'm going to give you the choice.
Oh,
'Cause
that's
I'm-
very sweet.
I'm concluding it's going to be a blessing whether I ask the questions or I answer the questions. So I'm ready. Which would you like?
Well, my nature is to ask, what would you like?
I'm going to ask the questions, yeah. I ask the questions here. You answer the questions.
Okay, I will. I'll do my best. All right.
All right, so there's 4 of them, and we're going to demonstrate. So this is a demonstration of how to do this exercise that you'll be doing shortly with a partner. Here we go.
Okay.
It's actually a statement. Describe an area of your life where you are having difficulty or where you feel challenged.
I cheated. I looked at the page. I think the area that came up was my sense of how I will lose my relaxation to a sense of urgency with a lot to do, a lot to handle, like a lot of plates in the air. And where I really get behind and get challenged is in keeping up with my email. And in MSIA, I think we know that email is like a very important tom-tom, you know, in our community. And often when I get really overly busy, I'll choose SEs, and then I get behind in email. And that causes a tension in me that I don't enjoy.
And my answer might be email. Just different way of processing. But notice I didn't interrupt. So when you're asking the question,
Oh, I see,
Just-
I talk too much. Oh, I didn't mean that.
I did not say this. I just pointed out variation. There's variation. Take a moment to consider that this difficulty may be a blessing in disguise. Can you see a blessing in this situation? If not, discuss where you might look for a blessing in this circumstance.
Well, the immediate blessing that came to mind, I'm so glad I want to do my SEs, that's my choice. I think the blessing is learning balance So it's a process. I'm not arrived at all, but I'm in an excellent training. I mean, excellent training. You are a master trainer. And I'm grateful. So I'm in this process. So I'm grateful for the process because it's a higher up process. It's hiring me up.
What lesson is the situation bringing to you?
Learning a lot about the impeccability of choices. So learning to listen within. So sometimes I really get a call, go to your computer now, and boom, I'm right on the information. So it's really increasing that listening, like in my choices. It doesn't have to be just this or that. It's listening, and my inner guidance will sort of navigate.
Now close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Let go and relax. Take a moment to silently bless this situation and the lesson it is bringing to you. Also, forgive yourself or anyone else that you have judged because of this situation. You can say that by, I forgive myself for judging.
I forgive myself for judging myself as not doing it well enough. I forgive myself for judging myself in any way as inept or less than or looking outside to people who I judge are doing it better, letting that go. So I forgive myself for forgetting that I'm divine.
Now in the exercise with more time, and you're going to each have 7 minutes when it's your turn until you hear a gong, and we'll find out what that is in a few moments. But you would actually start asking number one or giving number one as the direction. So then I would say, describe an area of your life where you are having difficulty or where you feel challenged. What would you say?
Gosh. Okay, I'll just wing this one. Getting enough exercise and oxygen.
Okay, so it changed up. But it could be the same subject. So if you want to do the same subject again, just be in the moment. So be present when your partner gives you the direction. And Lee mentioned that she already looked at the question, is that cheating? It's not cheating, it's just awareness. But I'm being subjective. See, for me, I just call that awareness. But when this happens and it's your turn, what's important is be present. So listen and observe what comes to mind. Then if you edit, go, nope, not going to talk about that. Nope, not going to talk about that either. Nope. Then be aware of that for yourself. If you go, no, I wouldn't tell them about that, then what is that about? There's value in your openness here. There's value in you being willing to confront an area of your life where you are having difficulty and where you feel challenged. To be able to acknowledge that is the first step. So even if you have embarrassment or awkwardness about this and you don't want to talk about it, just still be aware of it, that what comes to your mind has purpose, even if it seems ridiculous. Like, that's nonsense. Why would I talk about that? Let yourself go with it. Like, trust that your consciousness is tuned up to the greater blessings. It knows how to get you into that awareness, how to move you into the forgiveness, which is really important with what we're doing here. Anything you want to share about your experience so that they also have more awareness of what it is to have the experience of sharing?
My experience, it's liberating. I mean, my sense is it makes me want to go for more, to get deeper, to get freer.
Did you notice that there was a little awkwardness up here? That's okay. That's okay. Like, give yourself permission that we don't have rules about that. We're not telling you what to do. It's an opportunity for greater blessing. That's all this is. So if you add it, hey, that's up to you. How you do this exercise is your choice. Because we're going to bless it all. That's where we're going with any and all of this. We're going to bless it all. So we're just making a blessing stew today with a little heat, a little light. Maybe take some things that we don't want out. There's some kind of cooking where you put something in for a while, then you take it out. Or, I don't necessarily know it. Maybe it's the bones or something like ham hock bone or something. You don't put that in the bowl. Or you put the fire out if you're... Yes. That's okay. See, it's even getting more awkward right now. Yeah. But that can be part of it, and that can also be a demonstration of courage, of willingness to move into this. When you do the exercise, you may want to pair up with somebody you don't know, which may seem counterintuitive. Like, wouldn't I be more comfortable or more open with somebody I know? You might want to think about that. If you can tell them things they have no idea what you're talking about, and you're probably not going to see them again, maybe that's the best. Because this is a self-exercise we're doing. And part of it is you don't need to, what did you mean by that? It's not about that. That is not the purpose in this exercise. Or to give advice, not the purpose. When it's your turn to go through the information for your partner, that's it. And if you need some kind of help, like it's going on towards 7 minutes and they're still on number 1. But you don't have to, but you might kind of say, she's still on the first part of this, is that okay? And then the likelihood is I would say, sure. Because maybe that's what's really important, is to describe an area of your life where you're having difficulty, and just let yourself describe it, and let yourself describe it. Well, I didn't get to the other parts. I didn't even say I forgive myself. Well, see, I forgive yourself now. You see how that works? Well, I didn't do parts 2, 3, 4. It's like, that's all right. You're jumping, you're launching into forgiveness. You're prepared. Okay, so any questions about how we do this exercise, the logistics about how we do this exercise? Because you're going to be partnering up with one other person, that's the idea, of your choice. We have some shills in the room who will be willing to come in and do this if we have an odd number or something like that. But my point of view is you could do this with anybody. You could do it if you're at home online or whatever. You can do this with yourself. You could, who knows? You ask, and then you take the other seat and you describe it. And that works. Or maybe you get your gardener to come in. Would you come in for a moment? I have something.
That's good.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to partner up. I have more information for you, but go ahead and partner up. Find somebody, and you can turn your chairs if you like. We can make room. However this works for you at home, it's online. Put your hand up if you're looking for a partner. I see this gentleman back here is looking for a partner. Anybody else looking for a partner? Here's somebody looking for a partner. Don't know. Okay, so this is where I get my shells involved, like Susan or... Well, maybe it's called lesson. You can do this with anybody. That's the whole idea. So go ahead and take a seat. All right. So one of the things to figure out is who's going to go first when it's your turn. We haven't started yet. And some of you are going to be introduced to one of the most meaningful sounds in an MSIA person's life. Roger's going to take care of that. Please meet the gong. The gong. All right. That's the MSIA PTS gong you just heard. It starts and stops people's lives regularly. So that's what we'll play when it's time to start your turn and when your turn stops in about 7 minutes or so. And then I'll give some more information when we're going to shift roles. So somebody will start out reading the information. The other partner will be responding. We're going to do an invocation to prepare us all for the blessings. Notice how that works. Let's see, I just set the intention, it starts shifting. So here's an invocation of the blessing through the light. Dear Lord, we ask for your light, so we are more consciously present in this light, in the love that serves the highest good of all concerned. That we ask to be open now, that we are trusting, we have the faith that whatever comes forward here comes through the light for us to consider and look at, so that we can move our awareness beyond anything that presents itself as a problem, as an issue, as a challenge, a difficulty, any form of negativity. We ask for the awareness of the blessing, especially anything that has been unconscious to us, that we've considered in any way as a judgment, that we've avoided, we've had fear or doubt. All of this is now in the light, that we have our openness to respond honestly, truthfully, that also becomes the blessing. That we give ourselves permission to be awkward, to feel in any way, any form of shame or guilt, so that can be blessed, that it's all to be blessed, to be lifted, to be healed, to be cleared. That we have a consciousness of the Christ and the traveler that's present here with us, holding this blessing for everyone and everything involved. And we give thanks for these blessings, for this grace that is present for each and every one of us. Baruch Bashan. So in a moment you'll hear the gong, and then go ahead and begin, and then the next gong will be a completion, and again I will have some information for you. Okay. That was about 7 minutes. So maybe you have the awareness there's more, and there is with your partner. So we'll just switch the roles. Whoever has been directing your partner with the exercise, it's now your turn to respond. And I'd just like to remind us all that the blessings are present in the light, in the loving that we've invoked. So especially if you're switching roles, that there's an opportunity here to go deeper, regardless of which part of the exercise you're doing. So use the exercise for greater blessing, to go deeper, however that works, and be prepared that we give thanks for this opportunity, this presence of grace that's with us, that's clearing whatever needs clearing, balancing, healing, regardless of what's coming out in words, that something is going on that's beautiful, that's uplifting for everyone here, wherever you are, and that we mentioned earlier, one of the blessings is sharing. So these blessings are going out to others and to the world. Baruch Bashan. And here's the goal. So, yes, these kinds of questions are questions you can ask at any point for yourself. I'd like you to take a moment with your partner. It's not very long, but just in a way share the blessing of sharing with your partner right now, however you do that. All right. And now you can turn toward the stage here, however you do that at home or wherever you are in the world, online. How many of you are experiencing greater good in your life right now? Okay. Anybody take a dive? You know, it's like I had no idea how many difficulties and problems I have, and with more to come. Okay. So again, whatever's going on here, we're in a shift. And that shift is unlimited. It's a spiritual shift, and there is a dimension of our existence, of our life, that's entirely good. You know, so it transcends pain, suffering, this thing we might call difficulty, negativity, the part of us that feels separation, judgment, anything like that. So we're really talking about, it's been described as bliss, heaven, ecstasy, peace. You know, there's words, and in a way the words don't really describe it until we have the experience, but we can have a sense of it. The blessings come from the consciousness that is entirely loving, entirely beautiful, and transcendent, that it's what's in order, it's what's in place, so that as we choose that consciousness of the blessing, we start having the experience more and more, and we can move into a consciousness where everything's a blessing, that is our awareness. We have some moments here with what we've allotted here for an afternoon of blessings, which actually could be an evening of blessings or an early morning of blessings, depending on where somebody is. So that's the beauty of the internet. It's around the world now. So let's take some sharing. Some of you know exactly what that is. It's an opportunity for you to share your experience. We'll bring you a microphone when it's your opportunity to share. Love for you to start out with your name, and then maybe it's just share the blessing that you're experiencing. And sometimes it's, what is the blessing? Or to pose a question that would bring forward greater blessing. So if you would like to share, just go ahead and let us know here. I see a hand over here. I'll find out what it's like to sit in the blessing of this chair.
Hello, my name
Hi.
is Mary,
I'm Mary.
and I've had one of my greater challenges of an unexpected challenge in my life, which is what I spoke of in this exercise, where it's a difficult human being that I never thought I'd have to deal with anybody this difficult in my life. And I was just surprised in going through the exercise to come to the point where I realized that what I'm doing through interacting with this individual is manifesting my ministerial blessing. You know, there's a piece of my blessing that's very specific, and it's like, oh, that's what I'm doing. How wonderful. I knew it felt like the light was present in this difficult situation that I've been encountering. You know, and I had to assume that there was light going on because otherwise I'd be really overwhelmed. And then to have a sense of clarity about it is a blessing. So thank you.
Okay. Very good. Anybody else? Right here where I'm pointing.
Hello, my name is Toby, and what came clear to me is that I have negative self-talk that comes up at times, and recently with my new move to Portland, I kind of am in a place of, okay, what's next? Of unknowns, and some negative self-talk is coming up. So this exercise brought me to an awareness that I can move into positive action. And that may mean making a list of positive actions so that when I'm stuck in my negative self-talk and I can't get out of it, that I have something to refer to. And it could be something really simple, or it could be an actual action, but to make that switch.
May I give you a demonstration?
Yes.
So this is the first of the books I wrote, The Blessings Already Are. And then I remember I can actually picture the place you know, where I was living at the time. And I was in some kind of consternation. Was that enough? Give you some idea what was going on? Like frustration, irritation. Yeah. And then some part of my conscience said, well, just open the book. That's what you tell people to do. And it was literally, you know, it was on the table, you know, just kind of sitting there innocently, you know, like, and I was like resenting and resisting that idea, like, no, I don't feel like it, you know, like kind of thing. I was like, come on, you know, it was like I was having this conversation inside of myself. So I open it up, see what happens here. Those who are choosing to serve the Spirit are committing to move more into alignment and to maintain that alignment. You'll be challenged by your lower nature as soon as you make the commitment to align with Spirit, which is your higher nature. Your lower nature will drive you toward accomplishing things and attaining recognition in the world. Your higher nature will direct you into and through experiences that enlighten and nurture your being by utilizing everything that you do or that happens to you in the world as a means of learning and growing. See, that's a nice message.
Page?
96. Paragraph 2.
Thank you.
And, you know, and I had that experience at the time, and I had another experience like, did I write these words? I was looking at them as though they were so perfect for what I needed to hear in the moment, and also so wise and complete, and it really was a amazing kind of experience. And at the same time to realize when we're in separation with ourselves. And it is a separation, and it doesn't feel comfortable, and it shouldn't. You know, we really do need to do something about getting back together, finding the integration. There's going to be resistance there, likelihood, you know, to pick up your list. So if you have a list of whatever it
Why
is,
not?
like,
Yeah.
you know, when I'm in separation with myself, like maybe it boldly across the top of the page, reach for this piece of paper, read it, you know, or, you know, something like that.
And choose at least one.
Yeah. Yeah. To basically break the patterns. And there's a lot of our teaching that shows all the ways we can do that, but start somewhere. Start with something, even if it's like move. What do you mean move? Well, what does move mean? It means, you know, like get up and then suddenly something happens that because we're willing to move, the energy shifts. Or pick up and call somebody. Oh, they wouldn't want to talk to me, especially when call. And who knows what happens, but to be aware that you're reaching for a blessing. If you're aware of that, if you want help, and often that's one of the things that people are unwilling to do and resist, is ask for help or reach for help. Or have that, you know, the strong people don't need help, they pull up their bootstraps. And it's like, I don't even have bootstraps, so how do I even relate to that, you know, or buck up or stiff upper lip. I don't want to have a stiff upper lip, but you know, to realize, yeah, I need help.
I've kind of been in shock for the last couple weeks.
Well, you made it here. Welcome.
Yes, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank
Okay. Right here in the, yes, in the second row or from the back. There we go.
Hi, my name is Susan, and I had a experience this last spring of someone in my work did something that caused me a lot of grief, and it wasn't more than a week later that I discovered the wonderful blessing out of what happened, but I've felt this anger towards her this entire time. Loved the blessing, really appreciated it, really experienced it, but feeling anger, and we just did this exercise, and suddenly it's like the anger's gone. So I want to thank you for this exercise.
Okay, so just did the exercise and something you've been carrying around for months.
Right.
Lifted. Was there a particular part of the exercise that did that for you, cleared the anger?
Forgiving myself.
Hello?
For judging myself. For judging her. For judging
So
me.
earlier I mentioned like some of you may just jump to that last part. I forgive myself and just see what comes out. And often it's, if you've been around an MSIA, you know this service we call aura balance. And really where it goes is forgiveness. In case you're wondering, what happens in an aura balance? We go towards forgiveness. That's really where the work is done from the spiritual level of who we are. So we're accessing it through forgiveness, which is grace, and it will clear amazing things when we do it. Like anger we've been carrying around, sometimes it's years, sometimes it's lifetime. And that's usually when you're sobbing and you don't quite know why or when it's going to end. You know, something like that, when something's a deep clearing. And we do that level of work regularly, really. So that's one of the opportunities that is here for those daring enough to opt in.
It was interesting because I kept, saying to myself, forgive the situation, forgive her. I couldn't do it, but this did the trick, and boy, it just, and I'm not only feeling forgiving, I'm feeling like really loving towards her right now. I'm really joyful, so.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
But it is one of the miracles I find in grace is that that which has been our enemy turns out to be a very close, if not closest friend.
Mm.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Yeah, up here.
My name is Beth, and The challenges in my life recently have been health issues. And I guess doing this exercise, it did release a lot because it has been a little emotional. And I guess the blessing I took from it is finding the blessing through forgiving myself for letting myself get run down and not taking care of myself, and then what it took to take baby steps to get healthy again.
Is that still in process for you?
It is.
And it's improving? Is that your experience?
It is.
Okay. How does it feel to be in this blessing place?
It feels loving and warm, but I'm still growing, I guess, learning about myself.
Yeah.
And still forgiving myself for the choices I made to get here.
Yeah.
In the state I was.
Right. And one of the opportunities available to you, and I'm claiming this for you, but I'm claiming this for all of us, is that you will see everything as a blessing, everything, so that you won't have to avoid anything.
Right.
Like, I don't want to look at that because that really upsets me. That I allowed that, I created that. Well, let's really look at that. So often in this work, we go after where it hurts the most, where it's the most difficult, where there's the greatest judgment. We go there. We don't have a rush. It's not like a demand. So if some of you are feeling like, I don't know if I'm ready for that. I was really editing when the process was going on, but that's okay.
Right. And I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot about myself, about health, about nutrition. So.
Yeah.
And there's a blessing in that.
Right. Is it okay if the emotions are used to heal you? She's nodding like this. Because that's often where you're being directed, where you're holding.
Right. To let it go.
Yeah. And sometimes it's in the mind. Sometimes it's in the body where a person has a symptom of some kind, but you don't want to consider it. But maybe other people start pointing like, hey, how come you're limping? I'm not limping. Well, you're walking in a very interesting way. So is anything bothering you? No. Except that you're asking me about that. It's none of your business. How dare you judge me? But often this is what's going to go on in our life, is what we really need to look at is it's going to close in on us. But it's really a friend in disguise. So even pain is a friend in disguise. And think of it as a messenger. I need your help. So pain, at the very minimum, is I need your help. Okay, well, for what? Yeah. And often it's hard to understand when pain is consistent, chronic, excruciating, or something like that. Like what? But it seems like it's a punishment.
Right.
Or a condition, that's represented as a chronic disease or whatever. All the labels that get put on these situations, which are really opportunities to heal. And healing is a great experience. So just look at whatever that is as an opportunity to heal, which would be to restore, renew. And it's okay in where I see this. So I've done a lot of processing, that I begin and I source it spiritually. And that my physical consciousness is in some way being used to point out what I need to do inwardly. And then I have come to appreciate how the physical body and the physical level is used to teach me what I need to learn. And that in a way it sacrifices itself for the learning. And then sometimes we get to that place where it's like, couldn't I have learned this a different way? Why did I have to? That's usually when hindsight's saying, well, actually, we did try to
tried.
tell you.
I hear you. I hear you.
Yeah. And then we want to judge that. Like, why was I so stupid? And it's like, okay.
Yeah.
And,
Well,
and so in a way, it's like having an internal family reunion where you're bringing back even the ones you sent off to somewhere where they're exiled or something like that. You bring them back to the family. You know, the parts that we don't like or we hate or we reject or any of these kinds of things. You know, so it's like this is going to be a loving family reunion. Just set that tone. And everybody's going to transform. So whoever was the beast becomes something we love in an adoring way. Because part of it is the transformation. That the beast was, in my story, transformed by the kiss, by the love, by the affection, rather than, I want you out of here, I don't like you, you know, stay in the dungeon. You know, things like that we try to do, that we're not set up to be in rejection. It's not going to work. So if the emotions want to come up, rather than, you know, like, okay, and maybe you need to have a place where you can flop around and, you know, do what emotions can do to you when they're really flowing in the way they need to flow. And there are people that are gifted. I'll just call them helpers or ministers. You know, people that are gifted to help. It's their calling to kind of come in and do this. So that's another way we can get help. You can just say, I need help, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's not, you're not breaking a rule by getting help. And just make sure you're getting help. You know, don't turn off your self-awareness. You know, make sure whatever you're doing or someone's doing with you is helping. Right. So ask questions. This doesn't feel like help, you know, like, okay, what is that? It hurts more than when you started. Well, hopefully they have an answer for that. Like, yeah, for a while, but when we get this sliver out, or, you know, we get this poison out, you're going to start feeling better. But right now, have you ever noticed when you touch the infection, that is a sore place, you know. So, you know, a really good, I'll call him doctor, knows how to, in a way, distract you while they do the work that needs to be done. You know, or maybe they say, you know, when this is over, you're going to have as much ice cream as you want. Some of you got that one when you were a kid. Right? And then it's like, but right now I don't even feel like swallowing anything, including ice cream. It's like, okay, well, that'll change. Anything else?
No, I was looking for the blessings. So.
Do you notice that there's more relaxation with you right now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that's one of the signs that the blessings are present. You're more relaxed because when they're in, it's like we want to immerse ourselves. We want to bathe in the blessings, be baptized in the blessings, and soak in the blessings. Like, yeah, it's good. Yeah, that's right.
I could use that.
You know, and that our capacity to take in the blessings can increase. So there's one of the opportunities, is our ability to have good in our consciousness can increase. Eventually what that becomes is then you'll be called upon to help others, which I understand that's just, oh, okay, sure. To share the blessings is one of the blessings. God bless you.
Thank you.
Okay. Right here. You can sit.
Oh, yay.
Or you can stand.
I'm going to stand. It's interesting, just sitting here listening to you has brought forward more awareness about my situation.
And the health thing, so my challenge has been my home. And it needs a lot of repair, and it's been getting more so over the last few years since I divorced. And I felt really like stuck with it. And over the past week particularly, I've looked at this, what is going on. It's like there's something about hanging on, not willing to let go of past. There's like a grieving that hasn't quite yet completed. And
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
I knew the answer, but it's like a kind of a permission. And that's often one of the ways we access the blessing is with permission, with your openness. Are you willing to move?
Yes. But what, move my home? Are we talking
See what happened? But I went, like I was waiting for my movement. I'm sort of a, what is that? A PB, anyway.
Move, yes, I
Yes.
am. I am.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Even if it scares the living daylights out of you, the idea of it. But notice what came out immediately. All I did was ask the question. It was open in the way I asked it, even if I didn't know the right answer. Of course, we need to be willing to move in our life. We need to be. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, let's see, what is that? Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner. Okay, there you go. Watch one of those. And the Roadrunner was willing to move, but also Wile E. Coyote was willing to move. Now I have another plan and another scheme. It's like endless plans, endless schemes, endless willingness to move. And then we often see, well, the thing that Wile E. Coyote was attempting to do would in some way conjure up something that would happen to him. And to me, there's a message in that, like you're not set up in your life for curse or to be a curse. So sometimes the blessing would be in your willingness to get out of the way of something that's holding you in a pattern.
Yeah.
You know, that we really need to move or migrate, if you will. See, that's a nice way of referring to it. I'm migrating, I'm not moving. I'll be back in the spring. And maybe that's true. When it's time or when I'm ready or the circumstances are right. But your life may be calling to you, and then, and then the blessing would be there's a fixer-upper in your life. Like what? Well, they could be called a buyer, right? That they're like they want to come into your setting and say, let me take this over for you. Let me take this off your hands. I'll fix it up. I'll repair it. I'll restore it. And they'll even pay you for the privilege. Wow, this is good. Like, so I love the house. I'm just going to let somebody else pay for the maintenance, pay for the repairs. If you really loved the house, some of you might know this in a very personal way, that you would let somebody else raise your child because they could do it better than you could. And it happens in life. It happens in life. I don't say this often very publicly, but some of you know my son is adopted. But it's like, maybe he is? It's like, yeah, what does that mean? His birth mother gave him up. My blessing, my gain. But I don't think of him like that. I rarely even refer to it other than it makes the point that it was a match made in heaven. And at one point I remember she actually said, look, if you don't take my son, I'm going to keep him. But I know he's supposed to be with you. Those are powerful words. And later on, she demonstrated, in case you wonder, she was just whistling Dixie or something. She later had a daughter that she kept. So, whatever that is, I just look at these are things where if we're not willing to move, we're kind of stuck, and then it keeps whacking us. And if you have anything in your life that keeps whacking you, Like you might want to say, you know what, why don't I get out of range or something? So when that thing comes around, I'm not there to get hit. I'm not there to have to pay the bill. You know, and you know, I could reset, I could reorder. None of this is telling anybody what to do. All I'm doing is looking at what's in your life and saying, what do you see? Oh.
Yeah. I have this level of even to find a contractor or allow someone to come in and do what needs to be done. It's almost like surgery. It's like, I don't know if anybody's capable. Am I trusting that?
Do you like control?
Yes.
See, I just asked these innocent questions. And
Oh, yes.
yeah, well, guess what? You don't have any of that. And the reason I know that is none of us do. There's nobody in this world who has control. Because the one who has control, they're managing it from another place. And yeah, I could go into great depth about that, but maybe another time, another place. But let go. This is part of getting out of the illusion of control.
Thank you.
And then the tyranny of control that you don't have, and it's frustrating, and it's like, that's a sign. Let go. And then what comes after you say, let go? Let God. Perfect arrangement. And then you're probably saying, why didn't I let God sooner? It's like, don't go there. Let God. Your partner, okay, God, I'm cooperating now with your plan. How do I do that? I let go. I take my hands off the wheel. What does that mean? You have it. You always have it. Now I get to find out how you have it because I'm willing to take my version of control and let you show me your version of it, which is perfect. Perfect control. Then you don't have to fight, and then the resistance starts going out of your life. Even if you have it seems like a permanent dose of trying to control. Like you can't control that you want to control. That's okay. Just keep exercising, letting go. And then watch what happens as a result. Just observe. And often it's like, here's your part, do that the best you can. Let God do God's part, which often isn't yours. It's not yours to control, just let it be. Cooperate. If it keeps whacking you, get out of the way. If it keeps putting you in debt, let somebody else have that debt. How's that? If you're, what is it they call it? Right side up or something. Yeah, you're not upside down in a situation like if they buy it from you, you'll get more money than you, so you pay off your debt and you get out. Well, that might be a recipe sent from heaven. Just because you're willing to let go, let somebody else have your illusion of control. And the reality may be that they demonstrate that you gave them a gift. It was never your house. It's like, let me put this house I love into your hands. That's okay. But if I were you, if you're getting out of Sodom and Gomorrah, don't look back. Don't keep visiting the house you sell. You know what I'm saying? Every day I go back, what'd you do now? I wouldn't paint it that color. Let them have the house. If they want to paint it chartreuse, let them. Got it? Mm-hmm. Okay. God bless you. All right. So let me tell you something. We have had an afternoon, evening, early morning of blessings. And they do go on. I don't control them. So ad infinitum. Ad blessingdom. Okay, not nauseam. you'll feel better and better. So I encourage you with that. I notice there are some materials over there that you, if you're new or if you're not so new to MSIA, that are available. We have some staff on hand who are involved with MSIA services, and maybe you don't know what that is, but I'll just at least give you the names of some of the services. Aura balances, interphasings, polarity balances. So go ahead and stand up if you're involved in those. So let me point out, aren't you doing some of that, Jackie? And there's Marianne, and there's Celia over there. So I don't know, are there actually more openings if people wanted them on this trip? No. So at this point, they're full? Correct. Okay. Well, then maybe let it be known that you are interested, or when you come to Los Angeles, often there is an opportunity if you were there. Or I think we were here about a year ago or something like that. So every so often we come around with that. And let's see, oh, okay. Somebody out there said, would you say a blessing? Okay, for you, because you asked. Dear Lord, thank you for your blessing and for the opportunity to be open, to let go. And even if it's awkward and difficult to let go, to trust, to have faith that your sense is, I don't know how to do that. I just want to hang on, and it feels like what I have is at least desperately good. There is such a thing. Let go. Open up. Bring in greater light and love right now. And let's consider it is something you can breathe in and you can breathe out. That you can sense it. You can send it. So whatever comes into your mind now, bless it. That you are a fount, a source of loving energy, healing energy. Claim it, that whatever you see in your mind, whatever comes to your mind, is automatically blessed. You can hear the words, I bless you, I love you, I forgive you. So help me God. Baruch Bashan. Thank you for the opportunity to share the blessings this afternoon. Come and receive the blessings. Yes, it is. Please welcome Mary back up.